Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Making GitHub Work for Teams. If you've been participating in our workshops up till now, you know that we've been talking about the various capabilities and opportunities offered by GitHub and by Git. And what we're going to be talking about today is how to bring it all together, how to make GitHub really work for you and for your teams, because it's not as easy as simply assuming that it's all going to work together. So we're going to do a couple of things today. First of all, we're going to start with talking about why teamwork is so hard for data science, analytics, and research projects. And I'm going to depend on you to share some of your stories and some of your pain points. Then we're going to be talking about combining GitHub ingredients into something called GitHub Flow. Then we're going to have an opportunity to actually do GitHub Flow, try it out hands-on in an exercise that we'll do in breakout rooms. And then we're going to end with discussion and questions and parting thoughts. You all will be in breakout rooms working on the GitHub Flow hands-on. And when you come out, you're going to be coming up sort of in different groups. Some people get finished up faster than others. So that'll be an open conversation time as people are coming out of their work in the breakout rooms. You're welcome to ask any question at any point in the workshop, of course, but if you have something a little bit more in depth or you want to have some very specific advice, you might want to wait until the very end because we'll have an opportunity to talk about that as people are getting finished up and returning to the main room. So before we get started, are there any questions? All right, then. Then I have a question for you. Why is teamwork hard? So a couple of specific questions. And you can answer in chat, or you can, oh, and there was a question, I popped right over it. When will the videos from the first two Git classes be made available? They should be available shortly, directly on our webpage. Now, question for you. How do you communicate what work needs to be done in your project? And Iman, let me start off with you. How did you used to communicate what work needed to be done when you had teamwork with people?
Before GitHub became my everything when it comes to teamwork, we would just, meet at that point in person, but now over Zoom, and just kind of have like a to-do list of things to do and sort of assign everybody tasks, and we'd come back a week later or in our next meeting and kind of check in on how progress is going along.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Emails and meetings sounds like a lot of what it is. So meetings, of course, take some time. Emails and even Slack, you run into the problem of tying the work to that to the original charge, to the original point that you were trying to work. So really difficult to figure out, okay, I was supposed to be doing this thing. How do I sort of report back where I am with it? Where do I go to ask some additional questions? You have to start a whole new email chain or start a whole new Slack message to do that. And even so, Iman, you're very advanced using the to-do list, which is great. Still kind of the same issue. That to-do list is sitting on the whiteboard in that conference room, right. Or you might have taken a picture of it, which is great, but then how do you update it? How do you tie it to the work that you're doing? So what is a modern, Asana is even better, think about how to, so Asana is a great way of doing it. If you look at some of our recordings, you can see project boards in GitHub using GitHub projects. How do we, in the modern age, using GitHub, record what we need to do?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking anybody, but you count too, absolutely.
Well, yeah, as somebody said, issues and pull requests and the project board in GitHub, which is such a wonderful thing.
So issues is really what ties it together, right? William or Wright Annika, issues and assignment. Absolutely. It's not enough to make an issue. You've got to assign it. So then what we do is we have these different issues that we create in GitHub. So we have these different issues, and then you'll have different people that can be assigned, and that's really important. So this person may take that issue. This person may take that issue. So you have assignment between issues and the people. And that gets us pretty far along, but it doesn't quite take care of everything. So it at least tells us what we're doing and allows us to actually communicate by putting comments on the issues of what we're doing. But then that leaves another problem, which is how do you do your work without stepping on other people's work? So tell me a little bit about what happens when you try to do work and you're both working in the same code base. What are some things that can kind of go wrong with that? Oh, yeah. William, you're jumping ahead. Absolutely, you need to create a branch. Yeah, but Jeff, the problem is overwrites. You overwrite someone else's work. So absolutely. So so let's go and say that this is the line of work that we're doing, and let's say that I'm being good. I'm using commits, so I'm making commits. But this is the main branch. So I make some commits right here. So this is me. I've made this commit. Okay. Then this is somebody else, and they've made a commit. Now I come along and I overwrite some of their work with my commit. So even though I'm using GitHub, even though I'm doing commits, there still exists the opportunity to overwrite somebody else's work because it's all sitting in main. And this raises a couple of issues, right? This is, first of all, you're overwriting other people's work. You can do that. Two, you can do breaking code. So let's say that I'm trying to work here and somebody makes a commit here. All of a sudden, a function that I was depending on no longer works. It's like shifting sand. So it was working for me before, but then when I did my pull, all of a sudden it stops working. Or I make a big change and I decide to do something which is might break somebody else's code. Who decides whether or not that needs to go in? And in this model, I decide. Every individual team member decides. So there's no good way to do that. So what is one way to do this is, well, instead of working on main, we can do the following. So here's sort of the main branch. And what I do first is that I create a branch. And now I can do these different commits. The code that I was depending on exists as it did back here. So I'm no longer on shifting sand. It will solve that problem, but there's still some other problem. So I'm eventually going to have to pull this back in and do what's called a merge. So still have some outstanding issues like who decides, right? Haven't solved that one with just the issue, just having a branch. What's another issue that comes along is how do I ask for advice on this? So I have all this work that I'm doing, right? And I want someone's attention to it. So what I might do is I might say, hey, I created this branch. Remember that branches are a property of the repo. And so even if you created the branch locally, if you're doing your push pulls, it goes up to the remote repo. So you could say to somebody, hey, if you look in the repo, there's this branch and it's called Pretty Branch because I just called it Pretty Branch. Could you look at that and look at the code and then email me back with your suggestions? Because I'm unsure if I'm coding consistently. I'm unsure if I'm going to be breaking some of your code because I seem to recall that you're working on kind of the same thing. Can you do that for me? Well, you can do that, but it's hard. It's hard to have those discussions. So instead, what we have is, of course, if it's hard, GitHub probably has something to sort of help you with it. And so we have this notion of a pull request. So a pull request is more than just saying, hey, I think I'm done. A pull request is a way to have a conversation. So this allows you to easily say, I'm going to put a pull request. I'm going to name some people in this pull request. I'm going to ask for their advice. It presents to them exactly which branch you're on, so you don't have to tell them where to get to. It gives them a place to respond directly as a comment on that pull request. So this sort of helps with that conversation and sort of keeping everyone on the same page. You can seek advice, you can discuss, but it doesn't solve everything. Let me give you another example of a branch here. So here's main, and then I do my branch, and then I do work, 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 and I do work. And while this is going on, other people are doing work, making commits back to main. And now I want to do this. I want to do a merge now. So I'm going to put in a pull request, and we'll talk about exactly what that is in just one moment. Remember, pull request is a way to discuss issues around a branch. What are some of the problems I'm going to run into if I have done this? And I've kept this branch up for a long time. Bill, you say no big branches. It's going to be hard to merge. Absolutely. The longer I keep it out, the more the neighborhood has changed. Have you ever returned to a neighborhood that you've been away from for a long, long time and you haven't visited and you're like, I don't even know where the grocery store is anymore. You know, who changed my town? Well, it's the same thing with the code base. Things are different. Yeah, that single function call that you had before now require 2 different function calls because it's simpler. So now you have to refactor all your code. So long branches are dead branches. Long branches that are out there long enough, it's easier just to cut them off than it is to try to merge them in. So yes, exactly, VJ, it's lots of conflicts, lots of changes to consolidate. So we need to do more than just have a branch. We need to do more than just have pull requests. We also need to be careful. So how do you make sure that you're writing good and consistent code? This is actually all tied together. So probably what it should look like is that you do these branches. You do have pull requests that are very descriptive. They're named descriptively, probably tied to the issues that you're going to be working on. Part of what can result, what this comes from, this terrible looking branch right here in the bottom comes from too many issues, trying to cover too much ground. You're trying to save the world with this one branch. Break it down. You identify a branch with an issue or a subset of issues. And that way, what can happen is if you say, hey, this whole branch is just around issue number 1. I solve it and I pull it back in. Yeah, somebody made a commit while I was out, but now I just have one commit that's different that I need to roll in. So you keep it short and you get it back in as quickly as possible. This doesn't solve the problem of overriding, does it? But it mitigates it. It minimizes it. It means that you're going to have fewer things that you're going to have to manage. So short, defined branches tied to issues and merged as soon as possible. All right. So we have all these different ingredients, right? We have the idea of using issues. We have the idea of branches. We have the idea of pull requests, this property, this way of making conversation around a particular branch that we have. And then we have the notion that really what we need to do is to make these branches dedicated to as few things as possible, done quickly and merged quickly. So I kind of think of it like GitHub ingredients. So, you know, if you think about it, carrot cake ingredients really are not that bad in isolation. I mean, who doesn't like carrots? Okay, I know most people like carrots, I think. Zucchini, do not talk to me about not putting zucchini in carrot cake. It belongs there. It's great. And zucchinis are kind of great on their own. Sugar, who doesn't like sugar? They're all great on their own. They're not bad all on their own, but you know, if you follow the rules, the recipe, then you get something which is, oh, so much better than just the individual ingredients. And that is what GitHub Flow is. And GitHub Flow takes the ingredients of the different capabilities offered by GitHub, combines them all together into a single type of approach, a single type of workflow, which is really, I believe, ideal for analytics, data science, and research projects, combines them and has you use them in a particular way to make things much more straightforward. Let me go ahead and switch my share just a little bit. Let's see here. And something is coming to mind that, and maybe now is not the time to do it, Dr. Bell, but I've been thinking about this a lot. So I hope the rest of you all don't mind, but we have this intensive workshop coming up. And the idea behind this workshop is that we're going to be teaching Python to people, and specifically so they can use deep learning. And so we're calling it the Python for Deep Learning Intensive, meaning that it's going to be a series of workshops, May 20, let's see, what are the dates? What are the dates, Dr. Bill? It's May, it is May 24th through 28th. Let's just go and get this done right now, all right? If you don't mind, Dr. Bell, let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and create a repo right now, although apparently I have to sign in. So I'm going to go and create the repo. And if you don't mind, if the rest of you don't mind just sort of hanging out for just a moment, we're going to go ahead and just do this work really quickly. Okay, so I'm going to create a repo. Dr. Bell, what should we call the repo?
Let's see, deep learning intensive or DL intensive?
Yeah, DL intensive. Okay, that sounds great. Hey, other people chime in while we're doing this work. You might as well, chime in if you'd like to. I'm going to go ahead and make this public for right now. So this is going to be Deep Learning Initiative. And I am always going to start with a README. That's always a good idea. I'm going to leave the license for right now because I need to think about that just for a moment, but I will add one in. I'm going to go ahead and create the repository. So there are two things that I'd like to do right now. I'd like to get the README in good shape. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add two issues. So the issue number one, what I'd like to do right now is to add to the FAQ, and I'd like for the FAQ to be on the README page. And one thing I want to cover is who is the workshop for? And really the idea here is I want to describe the intended audience. I want to point out that all are welcome, but want them to have a project in mind and some data they can use. So something along those lines. I'll tell you what, I'm going to assign that to myself. But the other one that I'm thinking of, Dr. Bell, is for you. So let me go and create another issue for you if I could. This issue is going to be also on the FAQ, which I'd just like to have on the front page on the README. And I'd like to answer the question, how much Python do I need to know? And for this one, what I'd like to get across is, to describe the level of Python that they'll need. And maybe even suggest some pre-work if they're new to programming. We are going to have a Python intensive the week before. I know that. Maybe we want to mention that too, possibly. So something along those lines. So I'm going to submit that new issue as well. I feel really bad. We have like 60 people sort of waiting on us. So why don't we do this in parallel? We'll work on this at the same time right now and knock this out really quickly. So I've created the repo. I've added you. I need to add you to the to this repo. So I'm going to go to settings and could you tell me, I'm going to go to manage access, and then I'm going to invite you to my repo. Can you remind me what your username is?
It is csbell-vu.
-vu. Okay, great. So I'm going to make you an admin on it too. So I'm going to add you to my repository. Okay, great. Now we can very quickly do this work and get this done. I'm going to go ahead and get started with mine. Really, in keeping with what we just talked about, I really should create a branch rather than working on main. So up here where it says main, this tells me where I'm working right now. I'm going to change this, and it says find or create a branch. And I'm going to call mine, because I'm only working on a single issue. I'm going to try to keep this really short. I'm going to say this is issue number 1, and this is I'm going to issue number 1 audience, just to sort of get a little bit descriptive. I'm going to create that, and is it going to create it for me? Oh, and then you have to click there where it says create branch. All right, now I know that I'm in the right branch, so I'm going to just sort of begin my work right here. I can edit my README file right here. So I can click the README file. I'm going to edit this right here, and right on this, on this 4th line, I'm going to go and say FAQ, and I'm going to say that this is, no, mine is going to be who is the workshop for, and I'm going to go ahead and, that was exhausting. I'm going to go ahead and just stop right there, actually. So the commit change, remember, a really good, anybody remember what the phrase is that we use for a really good commit message? Anyone who's been in a previous workshop? There's a phrase that I should say in my head to remind myself of how to write a good commit message. Yes, that's it, exactly, fantastic. With this commit I. So with this commit I, start the facts section. And then I'm just going to go ahead and say commit changes, and see, it's so nice. It tells me commit directly to the issue 1 audience branch. So I'm going to do that. We actually have, so now it's edited here. It's not in main, it's just in my branch. So if I flip over and I see what the main branch looks like, then that edit is not there. That edit is only in my issue 1 audience branch. Oh, I see that you have your branch there now too. And look at this. It tries to be good at saying, hey, are you ready to pull this in? It's already trying to get us to get this done, get this pulled in. One other thing that I'm going to show you just to see what it looks like is, and you can't do this on just every, this is special because we have a special education account, but you can kind of see here, here's main, and here's me doing my branch, and here's another branch. Just it shows us that we're already off and doing our own work. All right. Do you want to share your screen, Dr. Bell, while you do some of your work?
Yeah, sure. So let me share my screen, and let's see. If you guys wouldn't mind, just be a little patient with me. I am learning how to use my new Mac. All right, let's see. Let's come over here. All right, and share. All right, can you see this screen with the deep learning intensive on it? Okay, great. All right, so I have also created my branch. Jesse and I started working together. And so when he created his issue 1 branch, I also created an issue 2 branch about issue 2, which would be the Python experience. So now I am going to do something similar, but I am going to address my own issue. So here I've added already, what level of Python experience should participants have? And I think, let's see, I might go ahead and answer that one. Let's see. Participants can have novice to intermediate experience. Well, let's just get novice. Beginners will be able to attend a Python intensive the week beforehand. Another great resource to review before coming is Jake Vanderplas's book, All right, and I think I'll go ahead and commit that one. Let's see. I think I'm pretty much done. Jesse, I guess you wouldn't see this if I was working by myself, but I guess I'll go ahead and finish this one. Let's see. With this commit, I added Python experience info to close. Oh, it didn't like that. We're gonna make that a little shorter. Added Python experience to FAQ to close number 2. Okay.
Okay, great. I'm going to go and take the screen back if that's all right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again, and I really should finish up my my work, and then I'm going to ask you to take a look at it if you would. So here I'm on my branch again. I'm going to finish up my edits here real quickly. Who's workshop 4? I'm going to say university faculty, researchers, and students with project needs. I'll clean up a little bit more, but I think that's enough for me to close closes number, so close number 1. So, and I don't actually have to put in a whole lot more because the issue sort of describes what it needed. And just by saying close number 1, then it sort of says exactly what I did with this. I'm going to go ahead and commit the changes. I think I am done. So what I would like to do though, keeping in mind the best practices that we have, instead of me just trying to merge this in directly, instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a pull request. This is for issue number 1. Had recent pushes less than a minute ago. I'm going to compare and do a pull request. Please make sure my formatting fits. So I'm going to go and create the pull. Oh, let me go and I'm going to ask, I'm going to assign Dr. Bell. And is it where I put it? Do I also need to put it under reviewers?
I think it can be either. Sometimes if you have reviewers, that they are the only ones who can approve your pull request in certain workflows.
Oh, I see. Okay. I'll just keep it just like that. I'm going to create the pull request. And it's going to do a little bit of work for me. It's going to say, it's going to check, hey, I'm so tempted. It's, that pull request, but I'd really like for you to review it. So I'm not going to merge it. I've given this to you. Would you mind taking it back? You can share your screen. Go ahead and honor my pull request if it's okay, and go ahead and merge it and delete my branch and everything.
That sounds great. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right. So now let me see. Let me go up to, looks like there are 3 branches. Okay, let's go to pull requests. Okay, it looks like I see the one, Jesse, open, issue 1 audience. So let's go click on that one here. Please make sure my formatting fits. Thank you for that information. That's something I can definitely do. And I can also look at that. So here I can go to files change. Oh my goodness, look, it's perfect. Also, if I wanted to go and actually look at the branch, I could click here and it would show me the README so I could preview it with the markdown as well. But let's come back. All right, I think this looks great. So I will go ahead and merge this right on in. And the way that I can do that, big green button, we can see that this branch has no conflicts with the base branch. Fantastic, merging can be performed automatically. So I will go ahead and do that. Merge pull request. All right, this is the commit message that does the merge. Confirm merge. Wonderful. It asks me about deleting the branch, and Jesse will tell you more about why we might want to delete a branch, but I will go ahead and delete it here.
Yeah, deleting a branch, you don't need it anymore. All those commits have already been moved over to main. All the work is still there. All that a branch sitting there does is take up space and cause confusion. The branch is done. It's done its work. It's time for it to go away. Time for it to be retired. So it's a good idea to go ahead and delete your branches. Keep in mind that if you are working both remote and locally, you might need to delete that branch locally as well. It's kind of like a little extra step, but it's good housekeeping. Why don't you finish up your work, Dr. Bell?
Okay, that sounds good. Let's see. I think I'm going to add, let's see, right now I'm in my branch. So issue to PyExp. And I think I might just add a little bit more just in case. So, or maybe
Oh, you're done, aren't you? You just need to do your pull request now. Because you already, did you? I think you already said close number 1.
That's who I do. Yeah, let's go ahead and do the pull request. I'll have Jesse take a look at it. All right, so from there, I can just create a pull request. GitHub is so nice because it said, hey, it looks like you did some pushes. Why don't you go ahead and do a pull request? Great, big green button, click it. We can see that I'm working now on this branch. We're trying to merge it into main. We get some words here that are perhaps not the best thing for us to see. Big red X says can't automatically merge. Don't worry, you can still create the pull request. Interesting. Okay. So I'm just going to carry on. So that's, of course, I'm a little bit worried. Okay. But we're going to write a message so that people know what we're trying to do. So please check to make sure the level of experience is accurate. Then that's good. And I will assign Jesse for this one. And I will go ahead and create my pull request. Nope, did we do it? All right, there we go. All right, so now it's checking to see, you remember before it said we can merge automatically. Here we now see something different. And so when I ask Jesse to look at this, he'll find that there are some words here. So
yeah, let me go and I'll go and I'll take the share back and we'll see what's going on here. Okay, so looking back at my pull request, it's all pretty, it's all done. If I go back to the main page here, I can see my edits in there now. See, they're all in main and it's perfect. I see one active pull request right up here. So I'm going to click on pull requests and it said added Python experience to fact close number 2. I'm going to look at this. What exactly did Dr. Bell want me to do? Oh, please check to make sure the level of experience is accurate. Novice to, that looks perfect to me. So novice to experienced is perfect. I was able to pop up and to see that really quickly because I went to pull request, clicked on the pull request. Oops, I accidentally clicked on your name, but anyway, clicked on the pull request. There we go. And I was able to right here, look and see exactly what had changed. But it all looks good to me. This branch has conflicts that must be resolved. Okay, well, I hate conflicts, but we're going to resolve them. We're going to click on resolve conflicts. And this is how Git shows you merge conflicts. So it shows where it came from and what the conflict is, and you have to decide what's going to be happening. So this is, I want both of these in here, but really I want who's the workshop for above what level of experience. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to edit this directly. All that it's doing is inserting text in here. That's all that it's done. This is not magic. This is not like structured or anything. It's literally like shoved text into here just to let me read it as a human. So this is human work. So this is not any computer kind of stuff. This is, I've got to edit this manually until it's the way that I want it to be. So how do I want it to be? I want this. I don't want that there. So I'm going to cut that here. I'm going to put it right up here. And then I want to have Dr. Bell's right below it. And I'm going to put that right up here. I want it exactly like this. And now I can just delete all of that text that it put in there. I'm happy with this now. I am the human. I get to decide. I mark this as resolved. So now I'm going to say commit merge. So now it says this, and I'm going to close the pull request. Okay, let's go ahead and see where things sit now. And I might have to. But did I actually finish that? It still says that I have. Oh, I need to reload.
reopen it right quick. I think the screen didn't update quick enough.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. So if you go to the closed ones, we can reopen that one.
Okay.
All right. Yep. That first one. And reopen it. I think we can just.
Oh, did I not do? Okay, reopen. Oh,
yeah.
I jumped the gun. I gotta slow down here. I feel bad doing this totally unrelated work in the middle of this workshop with all these people here. So let me go and click merge pull request, confirm merge. Pull request successfully merged and closed. I'm going to go and delete the branch. And we're all good. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So now we go to all the issues are closed now. And look, now all of our work is together in one place. Okay, thank you, everybody. We really needed to get that done. Okay, so where were we?
And I just wanted to insert here something interesting about when you're closing pull requests and with GitHub is that it sends you notifications about what's happening. So just then I got some emails that said, okay, Jesse closed these particular issues. It looks like you closed these other ones. In your workflow, it might be great to have the people who write the commits and the person who created the pull request to actually do the merging. So what we kind of do in projects often is we will have someone put in their pull request as normal, and then we'll have a reviewer come back and review and approve this pull request. Then that reviewer will notify the original code creator that it has been approved, and then that person will now merge it into the main. And the reason is, when you get these messages from GitHub, it can really show who has done what, so people feel like the work that they have done has been shown with the closing of the commits. So just keep that in mind. People can be really, it's great to give people the opportunity to be recognized for their work.
So much like you have a little bit of variation on the recipes that you might have, and some of them have a big impact. That one in particular, especially keeping in mind that many people now are using repositories as sort of their showcase for their work. So especially if you have a public facing project where people are going to be using this as, to sort of get their foot in the door, or, to get the interview or to do well on the interview, be sure to go ahead and let them do their own merge. After you've approved, you said, hey, and that's where the role of reviewer versus assigned to can come in. Say, I looked at it, looks fine. You go ahead and merge your own branch, and that way it will show up as being your work when you take this to show this to other people. All right. Well, I would like for you to go ahead and for you all to go ahead and try this now too. So we have some instructions here. I'm going to go ahead and put this into the chat, and go ahead and open up this this document here. It's going to have full instructions. So do it yourself, hands-on. Here's the link to the document. Go ahead and open up the document. One of my favorite moments when all the different anonymous porpoises and dolphins and elephants and Dumbo octopuses show up. What you're going to do is, in just a moment, I'm going to break you up into different breakout rooms with 2, maybe 3 people in each room. The goal here is you choose a team member number 1 and a team member number 2. This is why you need to have those GitHub accounts. One of you, the first person, will create a repo. They will add the other person to the repo, just like I created a repo and then added Dr. Bell to it. Then you're going to add 2 issues in there. You can just copy and paste the text of these issues, a simplified version of what we were just doing, where all you're going to be doing is just adding your name to the README. We're going to do exactly what we just did. Each person works their issue. I want you to look and see which issues get closed and when. So both members are going to create a pull request. Team number 1 shares the screen, reviews, merges, deletes branch. Then you try to do the same thing with member number 2's pull request, and then you're going to have to deal with that merge conflict. All right. Before I begin to create the breakout rooms, what questions do you have? And if you happen to end up in a room with 3 people in there, go ahead and, one person can be a viewer of it. And if you want to, later on, you can actually practice with one of us. What questions do you have? Okay, this all seems a bit different when my code is on my workstation with Git. Great point. After this is done, we will take a look at what commands you have to issue locally. But keep in mind, branches are branches. So it looks different because you're working up on a remote repo, but it's just a matter of what commands you have to execute locally. Branches are a property of repositories. Therefore, you could do this for certain restricted tasks. You can do this up here on the remote, or you can do it locally. Everything still stands, though. You've got to create that branch, name it well. The whole creating the pull request is a GitHub thing. That all has to happen up here. So but the only other thing you're putting into the mix here is those pushes and pulls. You want to make sure that those repositories are in sync. And then when you're ready, you do that final push pull, and then you do exactly what we're doing up on GitHub. Other than that, it's actually the same. What are my recommendations for naming branches? I suggest that the branches actually, sometimes I just name them after the issues if it's a single issue branch. If it's covering a number of issues, then I'll try to come up with that higher level description of all the things it's trying to do. But then in the comments, I make sure to mention which particular issues are being addressed in this branch. Great questions. All right, I'm going to go ahead and create the rooms. And I'm not going to put an end time on the rooms. You will have the ability to come back whenever you all get done. I will set a time. So if we do need to close the rooms, you'll get 60 seconds. I'm going to open the rooms now, and you're automatically going to be moved into there. If you need to pop out and ask us a question, you can. And remember, you can always ask for help as well. All right. Any final questions before I open up the rooms? I'm going to automatically move you all into the breakout rooms. All right. See you all after you get done. Remember, you're going to be finishing at different times. When you come out, we'll have discussions, conversation as people filter out. All right. See you all on the flip side. Bill, how are you doing? Oh, and I should have oh. So do you have the instructions in front of you, Bill? And I need to turn you up a little bit.
I do, yes. Yeah, it's my
Great.
phone.
Okay. So if you want to go get started and create that repo and put those issues in, I'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, I look like I'm the only person in that room 16.
Same here, room 6.
I just realized I was muted. Would you both like to go into room 6?
That's fine.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see if I can make that happen. Antonio, I will put you back there.
Okay.
Or I think you can just join back in there, and then I'll
Yeah.
put Tao. I hope I said that correctly. I'll put
Yeah,
her in the
yeah.
room with you.
Thank you.
If I could, there you go. Let me, oh. God. Room 6. All right, you should be assigned there. All righty. Is there anyone else that's running into trouble or need to make it into a breakout room? Oh, Marcus. Okay, fantastic. And Bianca?
Me too.
So, okay, great. I will just be putting some of y'all. Okay, so how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let's see. I think Marcus, you might have been.
I was in room 12.
Okay, so if you join room 12 again, I will put Kritika. I'm sorry, I probably just butchered that. I will put her.
That's pretty good.
Kritika, okay, thanks. I'll put her in the room with you. So I'll put her in room. All right, fantastic. Assigned to room 12. All right, you can both join. Can you get back in the room, Marcus? Oh, I think he's there. All right, now we have Bianca. Let's see, were you in a room before?
I was in a room and nobody joined, but I actually have to leave a little bit early today at 12:30. So I don't know if it's worth putting me in a room with somebody. I don't know if we'll be able to get much done.
I'm happy to be an observer in a room.
Okay.
Maybe you and Bianca could do well together since what are your thoughts? Also,
Yeah, we can try. It's fine just to practice a little bit, and if we don't get it by 12:30, well, I'll get back to the room.
That sounds good. And Steve, are you around? And are you trying to go into a room?
No, I actually was in a room with one of your instructors, and I do this stuff all the time. So like, I don't really want to waste his time having an instructor practicing with me, having already known how to do it. So I just left. I may actually I'm spying on you and just to see how you teach this. And so I might actually just work on something else while you guys are doing this.
All right. I was thinking about putting maybe you and Bianca and Maria in a room, because then even if she has to go, then
okay.
Maria can. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So.
Sounds good. We'll just stick you all in room 9. So Steve, I think you're already assigned there, and I will add Bianca and Maria there as well to room 9.
Thanks, Dr. Bell.
Yeah, no problem. To room 9.
Dr. Bell, can you check and see if anybody else is left alone? I'm working with Edward and also with Bill Gavella.
I see in room 13, there is just one person.
Okay. Maybe if you can sort of pop in on them real quickly and see if I think room 7 is just me, one of my me's. I have 3 me's. I'm going to go pop in back with Edward.
I can also put them in rooms together.
Ooh.
So I can put, so I see there's a Craig and an Edward. I can put them in a room together. And then
I've already started with Edward and with Bill, so I think we're fine. So long as there are any other, like Craig is alone, for example.
Okay, Craig can go with someone in room 13 named Louis.
Perfect.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll just pop it into, I'll just move them there, room 13. And then Umang, Scott is by himself. Do you mind if I put you in a room with Scott? You can see, I mean, he might not be there, so.
Sure, yeah.
Or you can just join it. It's room 11.
Yeah.
Can you join it? Okay.
Yep.
I feel very alone. Jeff, it looks like you're
No.
all by yourself.
Yes, my Zoom locked up and I had to restart it. And when I did, I got kicked out of my room. Are you able to reassign me? I was with Scott Williams. I don't know the room number though.
Oh no. Oh, well, he's now with someone else. If you want, I can put you in that room anyway. So he's with one of essentially the instructors.
Oh, okay, sure.
All right, I'll pop you in there.
Thank you.
Room 11.
Okay, we're back.
Yep. Now we are.
Congratulations. Did you all get finished up?
Yes, we did. We finished
Oh,
our.
good, good. So, I mean, you've turned the crank once, and that's exactly what it looks like, regardless of whether you're working, locally or remote. It really comes down to that identifying what those issues are, resolving them. But that whole idea of making a pull request which describes what you would like to have done. You might have, if you're doing like software engineering, it's understood. You want the person to test your software, you want to do this. But if you're doing an analysis, it's usually, or data science, it may be more specific, or research. You may say, I'm unsure about this particular part of of what I was writing. I'm unsure of this formulation. Can you check these things? And if this is all right, then go ahead and merge for me. So, Dr. Levine, you had a question.
Yeah. So I've been trying to start to use this, and it's not really for coding or anything. It's really just interacting with people in the lab. And I mean, one of the things that just right off the bat is what I'm not sure about is scale. So what I mean by that is, you had talked about the length of these branches, and so I'm trying to figure out, like, is a repository really the project that's going to last 2 years? And then, some of those issues that we create could take 6 months to resolve.
Oh, yeah.
So part of this is like at what level does the complexity, like how do you manage the complexity with this?
So we've had projects that have run for 3 years on a single project. And the point there is, issues can stick around for a long time. Issues can stick around for a decade, because the issue is meant there to memorialize thought of something that you may want to do. And that something may be, hey, once we get this thing done and published, presented, think about this as, the next stage of the research. Well, that could be years away. It's fine for issues to stand out there for a long, long time. What's not okay is for there to be a branch which stays for a long, long time. So when you decide to work on that issue that's been there for a couple of years, what you want to do is you want to then address it. And if the issue is too big, if the issue is like, start whole new research endeavor, break it down into, okay, complete lit search on this particular thing. Great. Now that becomes the branch, and I'm adding all this stuff, and then I very quickly bring that in. So you want when you're working on it to come back in as quickly as possible. Yeah.
Okay. And then one of the other things is also, you think something is simple when you start it and you realize that there's actually, multiple components to it.
Yes.
How do you manage that in this case?
Yeah. In this case, that's where the communication comes in. So especially if you are working on something which is core to the project, especially true with code, where it's going to touch a lot of things, and you can say, and that you create a pull request. So you're working in the branch, you put in a pull request, and you say, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. It's going to cause all sorts of delays. So there can be a couple of things there. I need your help. Do I need to just abandon this branch, and do we need to revisit it and break it up into, what should we do? Let's decide together what we're going to do. You can either wait for me to get done, or we can do it a different way. And those are conversations then that can be made together. And then at that point, you could roll it back, delete the branch. You could take the work that you've done. You haven't really accomplished everything the branch was supposed to do, but you did some important stuff. Go and say, all right, please go ahead and merge, check this stuff. But if it's okay, go and merge it in, and then we'll create another branch to do the larger work. It's all about communicating. It's all about having a process by which code or writing or analyses gets reviewed before being accepted in according to, you know, an agreed upon process. And that really is what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. It seems to me there's going to be a lot of trial and error, especially in the beginning, because again, it's that I just sort of think of this as the scale thing. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I have to think about that a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but just in terms of, you know, because it sort of seems like, I mean, I know you can create multiple branches, but what you're saying is that you really shouldn't build a tree here. You should
Mm-hmm.
you should actually work towards making a single line,
Mm-hmm.
and then these branches are really to address issues at that moment.
Right. So branches come and they go, but they always come back in. So it's a little bit, it's a bad name to call them branch, because a branch never comes back in, right? But what should be happening is you have these branches, you might have multiples, but you mitigate the issue if you are always bringing them back in. And that way you have fewer, you're fewer commits away from how that main was before you merge it back in.
Mm-hmm.
So have as many branches as you need. Just make sure that they meet the criteria of being well-defined, you know, addressing a limited number of well-defined problems, and that you're strongly communicating with everybody what it's about and what you're going to be doing.
Okay.
So I mentioned before that these are all the different ingredients that are used to sort of work together. Branches can be and are used in lots of different ways. For software engineering, you can have dozens of branches that all have to do with, this is pre-release beta 1, you know, and in organizations that do that, there's sometimes a person whose full-time job is managing the branches. So that's why we want our branches, because it's labs, it's researchers, you know, it's data scientists. Keep them short, merge them in quickly, well-defined, and so someone can follow the breadcrumbs and figure out what you were doing. And Steve, you say we tried putting close number 3 in and it didn't close. Yes. Did it close after you merged in the branch?
We actually merged the branch first, and then we were going to try it. So maybe, does it have to be done in the message before you do the merge?
Yeah. So this is one trick that we kind of like to do, and we mentioned this in earlier workshops, is if in the commit message you say closes number 1 or closes number 2, that just by making that commit, it closes the issue for you. The interesting thing is if you do that in a branch and you make a commit that says closes number 1, it's not going to close number 1 because you're not done yet, because it's still sitting in a branch. It's not done until that branch is merged in. When the branch is merged in, what happens is it actually takes all those commits, weaves them in, and at that point it interprets and acts upon that closes number. And then it closes the issue, because now your branch is merged into main. Once that commit makes its way to main, then you're done. Great questions. Other questions? So Peter, how did things go? Were you able to create your pull request and then have it merged in?
It was a bit tricky at first, but yes, we were able to do that.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think when we do a second round, we might even do screenshots of how to add people to the repos and everything like that, just to make it a little bit easier on you. The play acting was fun, but it also went by probably pretty quickly. VJ, how about you? How did your pull request and merge go?
PJ is Michaelis, but I'm his team member, so I can jump in.
Oh, James, yeah. So how did things go with you?
Things went pretty well. We had some challenges figuring out how to get someone added to the repo.
Yeah,
that was the big thing.
Sorry about that. We did that pretty quickly.
And then we made the same mistake you did of closing before merging. And so,
yes. But the nice thing about GitHub and Git is that everything is still there. unless you do something severe, like a rebase or something like that, it's all there. So you can always roll it back, an issue, the pull request, yeah, it got closed, but you still can access it and still do all the things with it, even though it was closed. They don't disappear. There's always a bread trail. There's always a way to roll back. Other questions?
Hey, Jesse, I have a question again. I always have questions. Sorry about that. So, again, in the beginning, when you're trying to figure out all this stuff out, I'm guessing that in general, it's not a good rule to delete things. But if things start to get messy, like how would you manage deleting things from the GitHub, like workflows that you realize are just messy and not very productive?
So it's important to define things. If you mean branches, yeah. If in conversation with everyone, you realize that this branch is going to be too painful to try to merge in, and you understand what work was done there, and you've done the painstaking process of pulling out the stuff that's important there, then together, yeah, deleting it is good. It's because if a branch is still sitting there, there's always the question of, well, should we merge it in? When there could be something nuclear in there that just blows things up and you just don't want to do it. So go ahead and, you can make a pull request around it, discuss it. You don't have to do a merge with the pull request. Yeah, as you saw when I got overly excited and, close the pull request, you can do that. So you can actually say at this point, branch, branch my pretty branch is going to be deleted, and then delete the puppy.
And is it gone or is it just archived basically?
I think it's gone.
Okay.
But I'm not sure.
So there was a recover branch button that we had to use when we were doing it.
Okay.
But I don't know how long that persists for. That was actually going to be my question.
Right, exactly. So Git does this thing around the time when you're communicating with the repos, with the remote and the local repos, where at some point, and it's unclear to me exactly when this happens, it does an additional compression. Because normally like commits are like real snapshots of your entire workspace that have been staged. But at some point it compresses it down and does some additional processing. And when it does that, I'll bet you that it will actually remove a branch, but I'm unsure. It makes it so you don't look at it. You can't see it anymore. I'll leave it there. Great questions. Other questions? And Annika, thank you very much for answering questions. You're always there early, which is fantastic. And Marcus, how did your merge go? Was that your first pull request?
Yeah, so when it was, I'm still trying to wrap my head around all the issues. I mean, I just followed your instructions and it worked beautifully, but now I have to, I guess, internalize it and understand how that works in the real world with multiple people cooperating.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean,
well, let me share with you, actually, if I can, something that I think you all will find helpful. And this is GitHub Flow, understanding GitHub Flow. So I'm going to put a link in here. And actually, what I had intended to do was to go through this with you all, but I lost it in my notes. So what this is just a visual representation of everything that you have just done. So, you start your work with creating a branch, naming it well. You add commits as needed. You open a pull request, and this is the conversation that begins. You discuss and review the code. This part we don't do. We don't do deploy. That's more for software engineering. That's for business. That's when you actually have things that you're releasing to the world. This is a little bit different. You might do this, but we don't cover it here. But then this is the point when you we skip from discuss and review the code to saying it's okay and doing the merge. So this is a really nice overview of what we just did and how to think about it. Great. Other questions? And Craig, how did your merge go? And Dr. Bell, you had to jump in late, but how did your work go with Bill?
Ours went great. He's a pro merger GitHub Flower.
She was very good guiding me through all these things.
So
I learned how to, was it close number 1 was the way to close an issue? I learned that in a commit statement. That was new for me.
It was cool.
Great. And there's a great question from Antonio on what does this look like? What does this look like in terminal? So let me go ahead and I don't want that. I just want this. Okay, good. Let me go and share with you what this looks like when you're doing it in terminal. There are specific commands that you give, but the workflow is exactly the same. So let me get to my cheat sheet here. So the workflow is the same, but what you're going to be doing
and I think
is
your Zoom stream might be in the way of the slides. Oh, sorry. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. So in when we were working on the remote, all we had to do was to go to the little main, and then we type the name of the new branch, and then it created for us, and then we were in it. When you're working locally, you actually have to say git checkout -b my new branch name. So you do that at the command line. Or if you're in a graphical user interface, it'll have something that says something along the lines of create a new branch. And that's really what you want to do. But the concepts are exactly the same. Create a new branch, begin to work on it. Remember that you're doing the push and pull when you're working locally, but branches are properties of repositories. So when you do a push-pull, you're having this repository communicate with the remote repository. Therefore, that branch appears in that remote repository. So you do all your work local. You might remember you're doing your add, you're doing your commit, you're doing all this work right here in your branch. And then when you think that you're done, you do the push-pull, and then you go back up to GitHub and you do all the work up there of creating the pull request, the conversation, the merge can happen up there. So you can do some of the work or a lot of the work locally, but you have to do some remote on GitHub. Did I leave anything out, Dr. Bell, that's important?
Nope, that's perfect. I think that really summarizes it well.
Yeah, and what are some of the issues we might encounter? Is the format similar? Very similar. There's one thing which is different, and that's if you work with Jupyter Notebooks. And if you work with Jupyter Notebooks, then you will absolutely want to come to this one, April 7th. Do not miss April 7th. This is how to make Jupyter Notebooks work using those, because in the merge conflicts, remember what happened with the merge conflict? It injected text into the README file. If you're programming, it injects text into your code so the human can read it and change it. That's what you all just did, right? Well, imagine that you're in a Jupyter Notebook, which it's a JSON file, is that right? It's a JSON file formatted. You inject text into a JSON format and you kill it. It can't render anymore. So Git and merge conflicts don't work well with Jupyter Notebooks unless you use this very nice package which finds those and puts them inside of a little text box, a text cell. So it's a critical piece of equipment that you need to make Jupyter Notebooks work really well in this environment.
I totally agree. I think a second part of that is when you do your pull requests, and you remember when you had a merge conflict, in GitHub. So whenever you go to try to resolve those merge conflicts with JSON files in GitHub, it will give you the opportunity to manually remove the different characters from the JSON file. And this can be a very treacherous activity, because once you mess up like the little bit of JSON, it no longer renders and it won't even open. So something else that changes a little bit in the workflow is when you have merge conflicts up in GitHub, what I tend to do is just pull it down, locally use a really great package to resolve the merge conflicts. So merge it and then push that back up so it's resolved. So the workflow is a little different, but I think if you're using Jupyter notebooks, you'll be able to mentally grasp.
What does checkout mean? Checkout is a combination of things, meaning I want to switch to the branch. So what it does is, if you do a checkout, then what it will do is it will move you from the main to your branch. So you can continue this work. It will also instantiate the files as they were under that branch. So all of a sudden, the files in your workspace look like they look underneath that branch. So checkout says, move to this part of the repository and instantiate that in my current workspace. So I'm looking at that branch of work. That's what that means. All right, we are at the end of the time. Final questions? Forking. We can talk about that very quickly. So forking is different from branching. Forking is like at the whole repository level. And the idea is, if you want to contribute to code, but you're not actually a contributor right now, you can fork it, make changes and say, I've made all these changes, and then put in a pull request to say, here are all the different things I've done, and pull them in. So it's like a meta level branch, if you will. All right, everybody, thanks very much for your time. Thanks for your great questions. Hope you can join us next week for next week's workshop, which will be machine learning and practice, or machine learning intro. See y'all soon.